So happy holidays. This is a little video of Chinatown. If you're coming to Chinatown, chances are you're going to take the subway, which is down this way, and you see the building with the pagoda on the right. If you go beyond that pagoda and continue on, you're heading west. As you turn this way, you're heading east. And I just want to say, at this apex, which is at Baxter, if you go to the left, it's Little Italy. If you make a left on Mulberry Street, which is that next street there, if you go to the right, it's Chinatown. And it's such a melting pot. I grew up on the Lower East Side, and I love it. And look at this. You get representations of all different cultures and how much they contributed to this community. So, this is Baxter Street. We are going to go down Baxter Street, and I want to point out that there is up here, this is a senior citizen home, and as we head down Baxter, you will see this construction going on because Chinatown has lost a fight with the city. They're building a mega jail here, and there's construction for 2 or 3 years. You don't see it or hear it today because it's New Year's Day. But they're right next to the senior citizen housing here. So for 2 and 3 years, during their golden years, they're going to have to listen to jackhammers. There's a parking lot here if you want to park and walk through Chinatown. And there are so many different cuisines that are represented here. This used to be an Italian restaurant here. And there's so much changeover. It's like you can stay in Chinatown and eventually things come to you. And this is a proper word that they're using here. Diaspora. So there's a new bar here. And there are words that are in our lexicon now. Like pho. People didn't know what pho was. And on Baxter Street, there are several Vietnamese restaurants in a row. These were built during the pandemic when we had to maintain distance for health and safety. It's another Vietnamese restaurant. You can go into any of these, and they're wonderful. And on a cold winter's day, it's always the perfect time for pho. There's a pizza place brought to us by Italians, who are on the other side. Little Italy is on the other side, which I won't include today. Acupuncture was brought by the Chinese. Crime defies racial lines. So bail's bondsman. There used to be all bail bondsman places here. Here's another bar. Foot massages brought by the Chinese and other cultures. And they're all over Chinatown, actually. There's Thai food represented here. These are the tombs. And often, if you watch Law and Order or Blue Bloods or any of the procedurals, you'll see people entering the gate. Here's Tasty Noodles that's going to open here. They have a place on Doyer Street. They've expanded to Times Square. They're popping up all over. They're hand-pulled noodles. And if you've never seen hand-pulled noodles, you may not be a friend of mine because I take all my friends for hand-pulled noodles. So here's a gate. You often see authorities pulling suspects in through that gate. This is Columbus Park. What's interesting is The courts are on this side, and if you continue down, which we won't today, to Worth Street, you get all these courts, criminal court, Supreme Court. And this is Columbus Park. What's interesting to me is this is the park that I grew up with and in. But what I find interesting about Columbus Park is when they're shooting procedurals across the street, rather than move trucks and move the entire company too far to another location, they'll come across here to Columbus Park and shoot a scene that's really close up so that you don't really know where they are. And this is Columbus Park. There's often a lot of gambling going on here. They're playing chess or they're playing cards. And also what I find interesting is that when people are young, children, girls tend to play with girls, and then boys tend to play with boys. But it's only during the mating years that they get together to mate. We can't miss these ladies. They're singing Chinese opera. They bring their own microphones and speakers. We're facing Mulberry Street, and often when they're shooting scenes here, they have the actors stand really close together. But sometimes as they weave a little back and forth, I can see the Chinese signage across the street. Then I know that they're on Mulberry Street. This is where seniors hang out. Here are some more musicians. So seniors hang out here and they keep each other company and sing Chinese opera. They're amateurs, of course, but they enjoy it. It's a soccer field. What's interesting about the seniors is they hang out here and they call this park Waiting to Die Park. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Here's the soccer field where kids come to play, get some fresh air out of the city. There's a hotel that's opened up here, Hotel Mulberry. This is Mulberry Street. Mulberry Bend used to have a lot of mostly Irish gangsters in this area. And they built this park in the late 1800s to basically chase the bandits out of this area. Something that we've never had before is an Asian American bookstore. When I was coming up, you couldn't even fill a shelf, actually, with Asian American books. And now there's an Asian American bookstore. And this building caught fire a while ago, so they had to evacuate. Here's the children's playground. You can hear the kids screaming. Music to my ears, because they're having fun. This is the reason why they call Columbus Park Waiting to Die Park. Because they retire, go to Columbus Park, hang out with their friends until they die, and then they go across the street to the funeral parlor. And there are a couple, I think there used to be more, but there are a couple. There's another one on the corner. And this is called Moscow Street. When I was growing up, it was called Park Street. It's where the screaming is coming from. It's a very narrow street. This is the funeral parlor. This is Moscow Street. Another funeral parlor beyond there. One of the Chinatown murals is right here. I think a friend of mine told me there are 7. This is a Thai market here. Just when you think Chinatown is a disaster, a diaspora, it isn't. So this is a Thai market. And you can get Thai spices and sauces, and this is a popular dumpling place because I think you can get 30 for $1 or something. It's a funerary supply place there. I love these old lampposts. Here's another mural. Because during the pandemic, I mean, all the time, but during the pandemic, there seemed to be so much anti-Asian hate and assaults that the community banded together and everyone does whatever they can. Here's another lovely lamppost that kind of echoes of the past, and you can see the tenement buildings beyond there. This is coming on to Mott Street, which was one of the original streets.
I think that was it too.
You can see people lining up for Wohop. Wohop is one of the older restaurants here. It's where Bjork Lee got her start. I believe her father was one of the partners. And casting people went down there looking for Asian children to be in The King and I. And plucked her out, and she went on to become a dancer and the original Connie in a chorus line on Broadway, and then became the chief choreographer of the touring companies. This is Transfiguration Church. We'll see the steeple later. But this is the oldest church in Chinatown. In this area, it wasn't Chinatown when it was first established. But here, it's the Church of Transfiguration. There was a pastor here, an Italian pastor, who was able to speak Italian, and he held masses in Italian, Cantonese, Mandarin, and English. This is Pell Street, which is, this apex is, you'll see in a lot of old photographs because it's been here forever. And beyond that, you see the brick building. It's Confucius Plaza. But this is Pell Street, often photographed. We'll take a little walk down here. My great-grandfather came in one of them came in the 1870s, but there was another great-grandfather who came in 1920 and had a shop right here. And it was named after Bazooka, I think. Can't remember the name of it now. Sugar Bowl. It was called Sugar Bowl because the kids, their kids, my great-uncles, loved to read Bazooka comics. So their dad named it Sugar Bowl for them. This is Mesa May, one of the oldest cafes in Chinatown. So happy to see Chinatown so busy. So Pell Street now is called Hair Street because of all the different hair salons that are here. And as soon as I turn the corner, I'm sure you'll recognize this street. It's Doyer Street. Also one of the older streets in Chinatown. There are also hair salons here. Here's one. And the prices are just right. People waiting for Namwa Tea Parlor, which is right here. One of the oldest, originally bakeries in Chinatown. I love that all these people are coming to explore Chinatown. Chinese Tuxedo, there was a restaurant called Tuxedo here. This is our original post office here. Taiwan Pork Chop House. Irving Berlin and Jimmy Durante were reputed to have played on this street in a couple of the speakeasies that were, I believe, right on this, I think it was this building right here, where my favorite Tasty Noodles is. So one of my friends passed away, Corky Lee, and his friends made a mural devoted to him, and these are his friends down here. He was a journalist who spent his life documenting Chinatown and Chinese American events. He had probably 1,000 photographs of me. When I first started modeling, he asked if I would sit for him. So he had lots and lots of pictures of me, one of which he said was his favorite. And the story is, I had a birthday, and I was really upset that the guy I was seeing didn't remember that it was my birthday. So I hung up, and the phone rang, and it was Corky, who said, "Happy birthday." So now I was insulted. Somebody I was not in love with remembered my birthday. Anyway, he insisted on taking me to Washington, D.C. for my birthday. And I got there bitching and moaning the whole time. And he said he had a photo exhibit there. So I got to the exhibit, and he said, "My exhibit's down there." So I started walking down, and all of a sudden I came upon this enormous portrait of me, and I was stunned. And he sidled up and said, "Happy birthday." And I said, "Is this the reason why you wanted to bring me to Washington, D.C.? And he said, "Yeah." And it's a story that I always remember because we give so much of ourselves to people who don't love us back. And then there are other people who love us and we're not able to love them back. But it was one of the best birthday presents I've ever gotten. So this is Confucius Plaza. When I was growing up, this was an empty lot. Oh, this is the Bowery now. When we turned, it was Chatham Square. And now the name changes to the Bowery. And then when it continues up, it becomes 3rd Avenue. This was, believe it or not, a McDonald's, which it is no more. This is one of my favorite takeout restaurants, another long line. Great place to get takeout. They're getting ready for Chinese New Year, just to give you an idea. There's the lady playing her erhu. It's the line to get roast duck, roast chicken, spare ribs.
Well, if it's too long, you know, I lose money.
We're on Bayard Street now. And Bayard used to be a street that only locals knew about, even though it crosses Mott Street. But now it's become highly popular. It's called Dessert Street now because of all the desserts you can get on this street. There's Xi'an food here. Xi'an is another province in China. It's another bakery. This is my secondary bakery when I can't get baked goods from Meilaiwa, and I'll show you what that looks like. Cafe Hong Kong, another wonderful Chinese restaurant that has Hong Kong food. Right next door is Yunnan rice noodles. Yunnan is another province. There's so many provinces of China that are represented here. This is Elizabeth Street. Down there on the left is the 5th Precinct. This is a meat market. And it's owned by, on both sides, this side is vegetables and such. And I just want to show you. This is called Dessert Street. There's Meilaiwa, and there's the line. And right next door is the new Green Bow, which is also very popular. And there's a line there. And then we have the original Chinatown ice cream factory. And here's the line for that. There's another restaurant here. It's another one of my favorite restaurants here. Coming up is Malaysian food, West Malaysia. And we're walking towards Mott Street. This is the famous Mott and Bayard, where it all started many years ago. Happy New Year.